5, 4, 3, 2.
I don't think it actually works like that.
Attack commencing.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, I just walk right over it.
You have to get trapped. You have to get trapped and then bump yourself.
Let's get you back in the fight.
I'm just holding this corner. Hold left on tight on the building.
Alright, so let's take a look at their positioning here and what they've got. So they've got a junk, a diva, soldier, a zen, a Rhine, and looks like a healer back there. Can't quite tell what it is. I think probably a Mercy or Moira. So this is pretty heavy damage comp here. I don't expect that the Rhine Shield Break War is going to be something that'll be won too easily here. So you're going to have to really watch the pressure. You can poke at the corner, and if you let the shield drop too much, they're just going to come right around that corner and take advantage of that. They are playing the low ground, which is a little weird. If I were defending, I'd probably plop my soldier up here and have even my junk up here. The Zen, I would probably put either further back here in the cafe or even just back more by these bushes here. It's just real easy pickings here. I'd pretty much just have the tanks here on point, because if you have the DPS up here, if you have your soldier and even your junk up here, your diva can kind of fly back and forth to help protect. I guess it's okay too with having a Rhine on point, but yeah, little risky positioning on their part.
Good charge here, good charge. No bother.
Shields up, shields up.
Almost 3 seconds.
Getting aggressive here, that was really good. Stash and Nick here both saw that I was getting low and that my shield had taken quite a bit of damage, and so they really started pushing into us. If the rest of the team had committed here, they definitely could have gotten some good pressure on us and probably wiped us a lot faster than they did. And again, I think Mad's death there is just a result of weak positioning. If he was actually inside the cafe, I think he probably wouldn't have been able to have gotten headshotted there.
There's a junk right above us.
So that was a super risky charge on Nick's end. There were no picks for their team, so him charging, that's pretty much a suicide. And the boop he got on me was just kind of lucky, honestly. You know, my charge against him was kind of lucky there. But if you look here, this is really good positioning out of Sifu and Pale. They're both out of sight lines pretty much, which is great. So we'll keep going here. Great bubble out of Pale. They, not really sure what happened over here, but looks like Sifu gets taken out by a Junkrat. Which, I don't know, I mean, I guess you could have rotated around the building a little more, but there's not much you can really do there. I think our DPS needed to not have been way over here. I'm not sure who was over there, but just not really a good sight line, not really a good place to be to put any pressure on them or protect our healers more than anything.
I'm dead.
So Pale gets taken out because of that. I did as well. So Honestly, as soon as Pale died and Sifu died, the fight was over. More Sifu than anything. And I should have backed out instead of pushing in after their junk there.
What should I say?
I almost have Shatter. Nick is probably relatively close.
And ready back!
We should have no problem shutting down this junk rat.
Come out and face me!
Nice.
Watch
That's
out.
good here. So the goal is to poke kind of at that corner a bit until something like this happens. So if you look, we've got their Rhine, like 25% stash at, 1, and Soldier at 1 here. So the goal of that is to really use the Rhine damage to chunk down the tanks through the shield, and if you follow that up with the Farah damage, this is exactly what you want. To basically force them back either into the cafe or just further back on the point out of just pure damage. So at this point, I took a really poor position. Instead of pushing in towards the point over here, I kind of went all the way around here, which just leaves me open to a lot of damage here. So I should have stayed much closer to the wall here.
Bubble, no bubble, no bubble. That's
You see, after that, I realized my positional mistake and I rotated.
right here.
On Discord, on Discord.
Oh, I said
Great
Sifu.
there.
I love you, baby. I won't let you die to no tire.
At this point, the fight's pretty well lost. Flash should have gotten out of there. This though, is a really, really risky place for Ink to be. Pushing through a door there against a Junkrat's just asking to die. Would have been better if, after you saw him kind of rotating out this way, to actually rotate all the way around and hit him from up here. Because at this point, I mean, he can't really meaningfully contest the point, so there's no point in putting your life in danger to go for him.
At max.
Come back, please.
I actually really enjoy this map for the most part.
Captured.
I'm pushing up,
I like this map too.
pushing up, Immortal on payload, everybody else can come up here.
Alright.
Crypto's here, right there's a Z. Yeah, anyway.
So this is
Nick's
great. So we've got 3 people
I hit him with a
and this is probably a miscommunication on their end. They had Mad, Miz, and Stash over here, who were still heading back to the point to try to contest and get kind of caught out of position here, which gets punished by our aggression. I'm gonna go ahead and just play this here.
headshot.
So I think I'm not really sure where this happened, but that if you had been back, I think a little bit more instead of chasing after that Junkrat, you probably could have been with us here and really cleaned this up. So here, what I should have done instead of what I end up doing, I should have swung on Miz, which would have allowed Pale to clean her up, and then used my charge here to hit Stash into this wall. It's just working on practicing targets once they're actually downed. It's a good.
Soldier up top, soldier up top right.
It's a fight winner. So because it missed Mad and because I didn't charge Stash here, though, I'm definitely gonna die. Especially because I don't have Inked alive here to help clean up. It's just Pale and I.
Discord.
Above
I got
one
it.
now.
I have a widow now.
Guess I didn't die.
Yep.
So yeah, here Carnage called out that there's a widow, and it's pretty obvious that you were sitting here on the payload, all happy like. Whee! And then that Widow just, bam, domed you. So, I mean, even if you're pushing the payload, you know, from around this corner or here and just popping out kind of thing, like, you're never going to get away with just sitting on top of the payload. It's just never going to happen. So, I know, that's something you have done a couple times now, I think, where you just get sniped by a Widow on top of or near a payload. And just playing behind it or to the sides and cover, I think, is just going to be a necessity, even if you don't hear Carnage calling that out.
As I said, I've grabbed. Where are we at? Okay.
Back in the fight.
Alright, guys,
Into your feet.
my shield is not going to be able to protect you from the position.
So this call out here of my shield's not going to be able to protect you from the Widow sight lines. If you think about it, I have to push up here to contest Nick because we know that he has Shatter. So my shield has to be used almost exclusively for that. And Widow positions are generally like up here, right? Oh god, that is a horrible stick figure. So, you know, this is your Widow. And if I'm having to essentially rotate to match Nick's barrier, the Widow's gonna have sightlines on you guys. So I most of the time wouldn't expect to use my barrier to defend against a Widowmaker. You can use it occasionally, but I mean, if you look at it here, it's already getting blown up pretty good. So something that I think is really important is not planning on my barrier to be a crutch for poor positioning. So good positions here that you could take, this area here, using the payload for cover, using this room here. There's actually a hay bale right back here. All those are really great positions for you to be in that make it very difficult for the Widow up here to fire down at you. And again, like I said, my shield can't be a crutch for bad positioning, so don't plan on using it for that.
Enter your position. Where'd the Widow go?
So here I'm just recharging my shield.
It's got this. Go.
So just anybody in the future who wants to play Rhine, Nick did a great thing here, and this will catch people out. I'd say probably plat, diamond below. But basically it's a counter shatter out of a grav. So I mean, it's something that I've run into a lot here, and so I was able to anticipate and block that because I absolutely knew he had it. And so this block here enables us to wipe him here. But just in the future, anybody who wants to play Reinhardt, if you're defending against that, just be ready to hold your shield up for a bit, which is a great reason why, again, I knew I had to recharge my shield there. Because if I had let them break my shield, we wouldn't have gotten any value out of this grav because he would have been able to counter shatter and knock us all down. But yeah, because I was able to block it, this ended up working out. He probably should have not just done it, but like I said, it's something that most people do, and you can get away with for quite a while. I'd say probably all the way through plat. It's something that you can get away with almost every time because most Rhines don't expect it. So this was a good trance on Mad's part here. Nick, I don't know. I mean, we had them all in that grav there, and we probably should have gotten some kills there. Not sure where Inked was or just anywhere, like any of our DPS. I'm not sure where the follow-up was there. But either way, so what Nick's going to do, and what a lot of Ryans do too, is after you charge them, if you don't kill them, which, I mean, you won't, because what will happen is they'll hit the wall with about this much health, and very often I like to sidestep before I melee and fire strike combo them, because chances are they're just going to charge back, right? Which is exactly what ends up happening here. So because Mad tranced, he actually ends up topping Nick back off here, which I didn't know while this video was happening. I didn't think of that, but that's exactly what happened. And now I'm horribly out of position because we didn't get any kills in the grav, and Nick is about to make it back to the cart and also not get killed, even though he's pretty much alone and completely overextended. So these are these are things that just absolutely have to get punished. There's no excuse for it anymore. I mean, it worked in gold and plat, but it's not going to work anymore.
I think I thought you were there, dude.
All right, so yeah, let's take a look. So it looks like Carnage is back there. I'm not sure where Inked is here. I don't see him, but yeah, that grav just needed to be followed up on. Just some kind of communication, some kind of awareness. Where Inked was, I don't know. I don't know where he's at right now.
Ryan, just put behind
No,
you.
it's not. My bad.
There should be one, guys. Ryan should be.
Okay, yeah, there you are. So, I'm not really sure why you're there. In general here too, this was really risky for me to keep swinging on Mad. I probably should have just shield hopped back to cart, but I don't know. I mean, it's just a heat of the moment decision. I think the reason why I made this is because I thought that you guys were going to be able to just tear apart that Rhine. But with Inked over here, it's pretty difficult for a Widow and a Zarya to do that alone. So, yeah.
He's half, he's low, he's one there.
Adds one in front of me.
I have a res, but
Yo, how'd that Rhine not die,
I know,
guys?
I'll get it.
Rhine has to die.
Yeah, that
So I
Ryan
should have
definitely has
called
to
control
die.
back here
There's no reason you should have
instead
let it
of complaining about this side not dying.
thanks.
No one can hide from my sight.
So, Ink, dude, I don't know that Junkrat's really ever a fantastic attack pick. You know, if Farah's not working here, which, yeah, I mean, they definitely have that soldier, so that kind of shuts you down. I think they even swapped to a Widow. So, yeah, I mean, good call to switch off the Farah. But I think this is where you having some Hanzo background, I think, will help a lot. Just because he can climb up these walls, he can shield break just as well, if not better, than a Junkrat. And you and Carnage can set up opposing sight lines. So, like, if we were attacking here, let me try to get a better position on the map as a whole. So, if we're attacking here, right, we can have Carnage set up here where he's at, and then you on Hanzo pushing the payload with us, and then once we kind of take this corner from them here, you can actually get up on this building so that you are firing down this way and Carnage is firing down this way, which effectively negates any Reinhardt barrier that's here. So I think going Hanzo here was the way to go instead of Junkrat. He's pretty much his utility is pretty limited to defense as far as I'm concerned.
Push. We can res
Carnage,
that.
okay. Carnage is DC.
No, we're good, we're good.
Res that.
Soldier one, soldier.
Shattered.
Well, I didn't see it.
He might have died up on the rooftop.
Res.
So that was my mistake here. I knew I should have known that Nick had shatter. I think I probably did actually. I just didn't think that he was going to be that aggressive with it. But yeah, he got a shatter off on us. That was a good response though out of Immortal to have tranced there. I mean, we got shattered. We got charged back to the wall. We were definitely in a tough spot. So I think that was a really good trance. Honestly, I probably shouldn't have just charged. It's kind of just like a default Rhine response, like I was telling you guys earlier. A lot of times, anytime like you get charged by a Rhine, they're going to charge back immediately, and that's exactly what I did here, which was, as you can see, suicidal, because at the very least, I mean, if I don't get a pin here on Mad, he's going to be able to solo me, especially because I'm discorded. So, and also me charging away. I mean, it's no excuse for this kind of stuff happening, but even so, if I had been alive, it would have been much, much easier for me to have protected you guys from that. And yeah. Excuse me.
Yeah, I didn't have a bubble.
So here, I knew I was going to die, so I just pretty much went, pretty much all their ults there, so.
They have sights. Do not peek. Do not peek.
Just reset, yeah, let it
Or
run.
peek. That works.
Yeah, so I mean, Immortal, honestly, dude, I noticed this happening a lot. Like you get picked off by widows, especially like shortly after Carnage says, "Yo, don't do stuff," or "Hey, they have a widow." Um, it's just another good example of just really watching your positioning and realizing that you being alive is so much more valuable to us than just a possible pick. Because now we're
So grab does not go through the Rhine shield.
Whereas before we could have just pushed up and Carnage could have gotten a pick, which is his job. So here I'm looking for a shatter. I don't really have any good angles on him, but we're doing a really good job of pushing back.
Baby deal.
Smash would have been better off. So, when a Rhine comes swinging at you, the best thing you can do two things. You can either rocket boost into him to push him back and then fly up here and land on the ledge, or you can just fly back. Either way, but you can't just stand there and keep taking Rhine or hits from a Rhine, because between both you and Nick, so if you look here, I mean, you're at a mech, but Nick is already at half, which is just going to be way, way too much for either of your healers to be able to keep both of you guys up. So as Diva, I mean, your health is kind of a resource too. So you got to think of it that way. And just because you're a tank doesn't mean you should allow yourself to take damage. And especially as Diva, you have so many ways to get out of that. One of them being your rocket boosters, but also DMing stuff is very helpful as well. So, you actually have a Widow up here too, which wouldn't have been a bad thing. Instead of just taking constant hammer damage from me, you could have flown back and up here. You could have sat up there, could have sat here. This is obviously a much more aggressive position, and it makes it difficult for me as a Reinhardt, because then I have a Diva shooting at me up here, and I can't easily contest you. So that forces me to have to turn my shield this way at an angle, which gives Nick, which gives Mad, anybody else here on the ground an advantage. By you being up here on the high ground, forcing me to angle my shield a little bit differently. And preventing you from taking a lot more damage. So that was a pretty low value shatter on my end. Mad pops trance here, which I would say is probably good. When I saw the shield break, I didn't expect that Nick would go flying 500 feet in the air from a junk mine. But I think if I had been able to actually kill Nick and the Mercy here, that would have been a good fight win for sure. But this is a really clutch trance from Mad. I think well used, because it definitely saves Miz from getting steamrolled here, and it allows Nick to continue to be aggressive and I think end up actually wiping our team out here. Yeah, so honestly, dude, Mad, that was a fantastic body block. Because not only did you trance, but you actually moved in front of Miz, who I was charging, and saved her completely. So that was a fat play, dude.
Here.
Soldier drop behind us.
Oh, I have no idea how. Yeah, Mad, I don't know how that happened. All I could say is I'm sorry. I don't know how that happened.
I think we switch off the Junkrat onto our regular Hanzo.
Yeah, so Mortal makes a really good call here to swap off the Junkrat and go to a Hanzo. I mean, Hanzo's ult paired with Zarya is 100 times better than a Junk Tire. Mortal definitely made the right call here, and yeah. I think I just had Reaper on the mind just because I know that Inked is so good at Reaper, but yeah, Hanzo's the way to go here. Double sniper on this point is just untouchable, really. Something's not working, but we'll go grab Tire here.
We don't have all night.
Let's get a fat grab Tire. Valk to clean up if necessary, but we probably won't need it. So, I don't know. I mean, I think you were just tabbed out, or I don't know what you were doing there, but yep, rip. What is going on?
Oh, on.
So this is a lot
Really,
of
why'd you
confusion
stay
here.
there?
Honestly, I mean, I don't know. You just gotta communicate with us, even if you're having an off day, dude. Like, just gotta know that that kind of thing's gonna happen. Because honestly, I thought you were PC'd or something. Which
She's dead, but she's gonna be respawning in a second here.
that was
No one
PC
can
actually there.
Hey, are you ready?
Yep, she was actually
Yeah.
starting to fight out. Alright, so Pale, this
Grabs
is
out,
really,
go.
a really great example there. I'm gonna rewind it a teeny bit. So this is a really good example of you telegraphing the crap out of your grav, which I think at higher levels, I mean, if
Hey, are you ready?
Yeah.
because you just know, like, you see a Zarya walking around the corner all the way up into the team. It's telegraphing it, and it's I don't know. It's not the best way to use it. You could have launched it from anywhere back here and still had the same effect. And again, I think this doesn't work out all that well, because I think Nick actually does get a counter shatter out of there. But also just because a tire grav is not ideal. Again, would have been way better to have a Hanzo there.
Grabs out, go there.
So yeah, I mean, this is freaking fat, right? Absolutely fat. And I don't know. I mean, Pale, I'm still hesitant to say that it's a better idea to walk up like that than to launch it, because I still think you could have gotten the same effect from just launching it a little bit back. But either way, fat grav. We needed to follow up on this. I think it's both a comp issue why we didn't, and I should have known that Nick was going to shatter out of this.
All 6 of them, dude. 5 widows up
The
top.
widow's on top of the saloon. I got her.
So, I'm gonna rewind here. I missed the kill feed to see what got Sifu and okay. Let's play this back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they've got their widow up here. So, I mean, this is tough, but you guys just either had to play, crouch down below the payload. You guys had to play in here, or just hanging back a bit. The charge I make here is pretty risky. Honestly, I probably should have just swung in there, like blocked the shatter and then swung. But again, I think, I mean, positioning. Sure, you guys could have had better positioning here, but I think more than anything, it's just my fault because I didn't block his shatter, which put you on the ground and gave the Widow free shots.
Grabs out. Go. They're all 6 of them, dude.
Yeah. So, oh well. Okay, I guess you got taken out by Soldier and Widow. Either way, I think if I had blocked that, it would have been better.
5 Widows up
The
top.
widow's on top of the saloon. I got her.
Alright, so this is good.
Very nice.
So I call for 3 people on payload.
Are they gonna have?
I mean, this is another good example of, and I end up calling you back here, Inked, but you can still spam that doorway from all the way back here. There's no reason to put yourself in so much danger. Because a lot like I've been saying to Immortal, you alive is more valuable than you taking an incredibly risky position. So just keep that in mind.
Me and Immortal on our way back.
But you're doing a good job of putting shield pressure on him.
30 seconds remaining.
Okay, I have no charge.
Next time you fire strikes.
We're out of time. Attack!
Alright, so
They just
you guys hear me here call out next time he fire strikes, I'm gonna shatter. So I mean, at this point, I know that we don't really have great sight lines here for Carnage, but Inked, you and I should have been able to really clean stuff up here. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. And I think this is just a junk is not the right pick for an offensive push here. Just because even if you were on Farah, I mean, we could have cleaned this up hard. But I think we only get like 1 or 2 kills, and sure, we still get the payload through, but could have been a more convincing and clean win.
the widow for a tracer.
Just keep pushing that card. Keep pushing. Card.
Go on the point.
There's one on me.
I saw you
Tracer got me.
Kill Ryan on point.
Full charge here, just burning bees on Statement's heart.
So Miz, I think this is a good example of a lost fight. No reason to keep healing, because at this point you're just feeding the ult charge. Because he's not going to get back in his mech. You're going to die, he's going to die. And healing is just kind of prolonging the stagger on you guys.
Miz is low.
I just got
Do something about this.
It's pretty awesome though that you actually beat it out there. That was great.
Miz is 1.
We might need to switch. Okay, Carnage is on.
I'll grab again in this sir. So, Ink your ult as fast as you can.
Okay, sure. So, Inked, I think
So you
if
go.
you did want to stay on the junk here, I think one of the best things you actually could have done would be to launch yourself up on top of the platform. Not this one, but let's see if I can get a better vantage point here. So this platform here, if you could have somehow launched yourself up from over here and then been able to get up onto this here, you could flank them and just, you know, drop mines down, drop things down onto the Rhine here. I think that probably would have been preferable. You know, my shield's fine too, I guess, but ideally that's where you would have wanted to set up. And I think the McCree swap here for Carnage is...
So you're going behind us, you probably have
Over to the
So here I know Nick has Shatter, I'm trying to bait it out.
So
That
you
was
did.
an extremely risky charge on his end. And you guys did a really great job of... Carnage got a flashbang off on him here. And I think actually Pale bubbled me as well. But either way, great peeling for me there, guys. And that was a really risky charge that I don't think I would have done.
Kill Nick, kill Nick, kill Nick.
Do we have any follow-up grab?
So here, I mean, this is just borderline suicidal. I don't know what you're doing there. But the trance, probably not necessary here. I probably could have blocked all of that. You know, if we all grouped up and just stayed on my shield. Visors are really easy ultimate to counter with good positioning. Especially when we were up in the fight. I don't know that we needed a trance there.
Move up, move up.
Fall back.
So, I mean, this here, I end up going for a shatter here, and unfortunately it doesn't hit Miski, but I was just going for a win condition here, which is taking down their Mercy. This should have allowed us to steamroll it, and again, I'm not sure where you were at, Inked, but I needed you with me to have a little bit of follow-up damage on what's about to happen here. Okay, gotcha. Forgot that this happened. Flash, Fat. Great job. I don't really think there's any reason why this kind of thing should happen in the future to us, though. Just always remember the rule of pulse bombing. If you get hit by a pulse bomb and you're stuck, don't move. Just let other people move away from you. But either way, Fat pulse bomb. That just happened so quickly that I didn't see that, and I was so focused on getting their Mercy down here.
Miz is one. Alright, we got one more fight, guys. Just die quick, die quick, die quick.
So
Trying to die so
quick.
quick.
Once a fight is completely lost, I mean, you continue to just shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot. You know, you have no way of getting out. And I think recognizing a fight's lost instead of continuing to fight is going to help us a lot, just because we end up then having to wait even a little bit longer than we needed to for you. And I think we actually go in without you up here, but that's something to work on.
Fine, I just fixed it.
Just die, dude. Die.
This is not over.
So yeah, we end up
Alright,
having to
last
push
fight
in
here, we got
anyways.
Grav Tire. We're going to engage with Valk, get you into a good spot to grab him.
So I know Nick has Shatter here.
Make sure we touch your 10 seconds.
And really, there's not a whole lot I could have done here. So this is a really good play. Stash as a diva, I don't know that I would have been sitting up here. I think you would have been better off here or over here, because you can still, you can still DM your tank from over here or here. You can still very quickly peel back for your healers. But where you're at right now is just prime swing territory for me. So I should have gone for a pin here on Nick when I saw him getting real aggressive and just tried to pin him to the payload, but I was too focused on, I think, getting to the payload and also trying to block his shatter, whereas instead of blocking the shatter I could have just killed him. But
Round it out.
Nick got past my screen shot.
hands down one of the points. This was a really risky charge on my end. Shouldn't have done it. That was a good, I think that was a good Valk there. I mean, we knew last fight, so blow those ults. I shouldn't have charged him here though. With the Valk getting blown, I should have just stayed and swung at him. Probably could have won that fight actually, I think, if I hadn't charged here. Alright, just get sent.
Mrs. 1, Mrs. 1. I'm dead too.
Yeah, pretty much no doubt we would have won that if I hadn't charged. This is ridiculous. Stall out there by Carnage.
Yeah, that's okay. Nice job.
Back and ready for more.
Score 2-0. Switch.
We can hold this. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, Nick just got super aggressive and was able to get past my shield there.
Prepare your defenses.
Not all
He is a very
Select
aggressive
your
rhino.
hero.
Yep. I could have jumped back a little bit, but we didn't have much choice because we had to get to the cart. So, I think this is a good defensive comp. I don't know that I'd really.
Yeah, I
go with
like
Sniper.
the
Junk is
Hanzo
really
pick.
powerful on the first point. But yeah, Carnage on either a Widow or a Hanzo, I think is just
you might even want to go
absolutely
Brigida here
insane.
if they have a tracer again.
Shield break, Widows, better for picks, I think. But I would like to try a Hanzo Junk defense. That'd be pretty OP.
I'm just gonna stick with it for the time being.
Okay.
Yeah, she's good until
Widow's pretty good, even on second point if they go through here. So, what's about to happen here I think is a good lesson for the red team. You guys should pretty much always go out the left side door, because you can pretty much guarantee that at any competitive level, something like this is going to happen, where they're going to either be spamming or just trying to take out that first door.
that was nice.
And as you see, I got
Yeah.
20% alt charge.
Nice.
I hit, I think, 2 to 3 people with my fire strike there, which almost lets
Trying
me
to
get a
get
fire
the
strike
hose
right
burning.
here now.
They're running Reaper
This
cycle.
is pretty
Okay.
decent positioning. Sifu, I would be instead of kind of trying to watch what's happening here, I'd probably be closer to this wall. But great job boosting the Junkrat. That really lets him obliterate Nick's shield here. So just watch your positioning here. Remember, you being alive and you being in good positioning is far more valuable than you seeing what's happening over here.
There's one.
No shield, no
Brian,
shield,
this
push,
work?
push, push. So, here we should have been able to really push hard into them. I think, again, this is just something we need to get used to, though, is when to be extremely aggressive on defense, and this is a good opportunity for us to do that. Nick has no shield, so I think if, and again, this is tough just because we're on a Widow here. But if we had a Hanzo and a Junk, we could have just pushed into this and just absolutely destroyed them here. But I don't know. We still probably could have gotten a good pick or two. We just have to get used to being ready to be real aggressive instead of just holding back on the point. Because that was a perfect opportunity to do it.
Sombra's left side in the control room.
Fall back, fall back, fall back, fall back.
Yeah, so I had to call fall back there just because we weren't able to put enough pressure.
Yeah,
So
Sombra
the
was
goal, guys, the goal with the
Sombra's on point.
is
It's Sombra. Coming around back.
So this is an interesting comp out of red. Sombra, I'm hesitant just because I think that there's not going to be enough healing here. Because you've got Miz on Mercy and you've got Mad on Brigida, which Brigida doesn't really heal enough to make that worthwhile. I'm not sure if you guys are running triple support here, but having Sombra as your only DPS is extremely risky.
She had me. Heal me, heal me, heal me, heal me, heal me.
If you're, yeah, okay. So you guys you're running a Reaper. Yeah, so you just don't have enough heals right now, really. So Stash, this is a perfect opportunity for when you needed to keep a bubble up on your Rhine, because he's about to just get wrecked here. But yeah, keep in mind that Mercy Brig is not going to be enough healing. It's just not. So I think the right call here would have been to have Mad on Lucio. both to enable the Reaper and the Rhine. So this is a risky shatter here. It's probably unnecessary, honestly, because I think the fight's already pretty much won. But yeah, because we've taken out their one of their major, well, their one DPS other than the Reaper here and their Rhine. So the fight, the fight's pretty much won. It's 6-on-4. This is probably unnecessary, but it definitely secures the wipe here.
I can Vegeta all over me.
No, we're okay. Yeah, that's fine.
I got 3.
They all just said they were going to the fire.
My ultimate is charging.
Nick's alone up here.
It looks like Flash is prioritizing me for whatever reason.
Yeah, so usually in this Sombra comp, their goal is to hack me. So pretty much all I can do is swing. And that really enables them to just push in. But it's a little weird just because I feel like that would have been a better strat with a Pharah or something else, just because having a Reaper try to follow up on that is a little bit more difficult, just because, I mean, he has to get close to me. So it kind of negates the strength of that. But yeah, having either like a Pharah or a Hanzo to complement the Sombra there, I think is a good call. Typically when they do that comp, they try to hack me. Nick has Shatter here.
I have my red fire.
We're doing a really good job here of breaking his shield. And honestly,
Reaper
they're
just scored another one.
we do this a lot too. And I think this is a really good example of what we need to not do. So once we make a plan, so I think their plan right now is to flank right. That looks like a wiener. I'm going to delete that. Their plan is to flank right. But because they're just kind of jacking around here in the choke so much, there's so much hesitation of like, are we going right? Are we going left? And okay, if we are going right, why are people still shooting? And so, like you guys see here, Nick's shield's just getting obliterated, right?
No one
Going wide again.
And because there's so much hesitancy, I don't know, is that a word? I think so. Because there's so much hesitation, Nick's shield now is just shattered. And like I said, that's something that we do a lot and that we need to not do, because as you can see here on our defense, we're watching why that's a big fail. And I think they actually end up losing the fight here primarily because they wasted so much time maybe flanking right, maybe flanking left, and then Nick's shield was out, so they had to wait even longer. They're looking to
Splitting?
this, I think.
Splitting?
Yep. No, they're not.
Never mind.
Nick has Shatter, 100%. So again, I mean, that's exactly what they're doing again here, where they kind of committed to right, now they're kind of committing to left.
Right side, right side.
Watch the Sombra. They could have gotten 2 fights in there. So here I absolutely 100% knew Nick had Shatter. And especially how aggressive he was being pushing in here. I mean, it's just telegraphing.
I have grab.
And again, it's another good thing. So anybody playing Rhine, it's pretty common, I would say, for after you block a Shatter and I'm guilty of doing this too, but when you block a Rhine's Shatter, I'd say probably 7 out of 10 times they're just gonna kind of tilt charge, which is what happened here and why I was able to get a counter charge on him, because I knew that's exactly what was gonna happen.
I got Mercy when she's out.
Reaper.
So Miz, that was a super late Valk. If I were you, I would have planned to. So your guys' win condition there was to enable a fat shatter, and the best way you could have done that would have been to push in with the Valk. So using Valk offensively instead of using it as a defensive ult once the fight's pretty much already lost. I would say after Nick died, the fight was over. So you could have kept him from dying had you Valked initially.
We were dead.
I need heals, I need heals.
Stash can die.
Let's
So
stagger.
this is
Got
stagger
flash.
on
Come to
our
Pale
end.
and
And honestly, Stash, I would have,
Stagger.
knowing that
Shadow
your
here?
entire team had just died,
We
Yeah,
were
we
losing.
tried.
right into that and died.
Inks, try to
This
save
is
you.
a pretty good swap here. Stash should have had a grav by now. Again, this is just this healing comp, like this comp in general. I think if you guys had swapped this 2 pushes ago, you know, either kept this and switched Miski to a Farah or a Hanzo, I think that would have been good. If you guys did want to run this, you should have run a Lucio here. And I think you guys actually do end up switching to a Lucio here. But it's just not enough healing, and the Brigida is really not helping the Rhine or the Zarya or anything that much with this comp. And I don't know. I mean, if you guys did want to run this comp, I still would have gone a Lucio here. And I would have either put Flash on, well, here. So if you guys were wanting to run this comp where Nick was the Rhine here, I would have had Flash go Lucio. Just keep in mind then that really puts a lot of burden on Miski and Nick, and even Stash too, to pump out a lot of damage. So this is just a wonky comp, and I think you guys overcommitted to this, and this is why, with about 1:22 left, yeah, I actually think this is why we got you guys so close to holding this first point. It's just an overcommitment to a kind of wonky comp here.
We're fire for either Earth
Switch
Shatter
to
or Grab, please.
is a
Are
good
they going
call
to be
here.
coming in hot and heavy with this armor?
Yep. Let's grab Tyro here.
Worry, my friend.
I think they're gonna have a lot of ults here.
Grab Tyro.
Double monkey.
So right
And they
here,
also-
this was so when I said grab tire, right when they started pushing through that choke pail, you should have been ready. You should have been like, all right, let's do it. Because even if you get 3 of them, that's a lost fight. They lose. They have to reset. We can just clean up the rest. And if you look at all these ults that we have here, I mean, there's no reason why over the next minute we should have lost this. And even so, we could have honestly just saved your grab for last fight, which I think probably would have been a better thing to do, just because we know that that's a guaranteed fight win. And maybe just gone for an aggressive shatter here instead. But I don't know. Something to work on, something to think about in the future.
They're all coming.
They do not have Valk. I killed them and they Valk last round.
Alright, let's group up for group up, guys. So with let's grab Tyro here.
Yeah, so us not grabbing,
Sorry,
when they
behind.
started pushing through the choke there, enabled this to happen here. I know we still fought them back, but this having Nick here on our healers is super dangerous.
Oh, can't. Back
Get in
now.
the cafe, get in the cafe, get in the cafe.
So that was a great trance. I mean, it pretty much negated the value of the EMP and kept you alive, which Zenyatta's probably one of the most vulnerable to the EMP. So here, I'm pretty sure I knew Miski had his ult because we hadn't seen that come out at all yet, as far as I know. So this call back into the cafe was kind of risky, but I think because I knew that our trance was up and I had shatter here, I felt safe doing it just because us doing that would have done exactly what ends up happening here, which pulls them into the cafe and enables me to shatter as soon as it wears off, and gives us protection as well while we're in there. So
Yeah.
let's play out here.
They know I have grab, they're hacking me.
No one.
Alright, I'm throwing grab right now.
Yeah, I don't know if I need to charge there.
Nice. You guys got this. It's just Sombra Monkey.
I think it
Number
was
one.
after I had shattered out of there. I think we should have just saved. I don't think we needed the tire, and I don't think we actually needed the grav after that shatter. I think that shatter was enough to win the fight there. But I mean, again, it's a tough call just because you don't know. I mean, our plan going into it was to get a grav shatter, or sorry, a grav tire, but that was something that I think we needed to do back at the initial choke instead of waiting until now to do it.
Monkey's on Immortal. Watch out.
30 seconds remaining.
Nice.
Alright, boys, last
so this
fight.
is last fight, and again, I mean, it would have been nice if we had all those ults, because we know that they've got grav here. There's no doubt.
Reaper coming in. Hang up.
So this is a great example of, alright, so what ends up happening here is a good example of where I go, you go. So I push up here because it's last fight, and the longer we can try to stall them from touching the point, the better. If we could have actually held out there, that would have been awesome, because that would have forced them to take horrible positioning to try to get to the point. And I think what ends up happening actually is just because we're up here and because our healers and stuff weren't able to get up here, but we're actually back on the point. Miski's able to capitalize on that. Either way, I mean, I guess we could have done a better job protecting.
People can die, nice.
I think all three of you being dead there, though, when most of the team was up in here, I don't know. I mean, I think that's just a kind of half and half positional mistake versus your tanks probably could have done a better job protecting you.
Everybody's low. No, they probably get this one.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a big shadow though.
Yeah, so actually the Lucio there, or Mad, sorry, there you are. You actually outranged that shatter there, which is awesome, because you, had you been closer, you definitely would have gotten killed there, hands down. So that was awesome. Able to clean me
How'd
up
that
there.
not get loose?
It's a risky shatter, but I think I just wanted to make sure that
Yeah,
we
did.
stopped you guys.
Yeah, it's alright, no big deal.
So, do you want to hold this saloon?
There's a hay bale. Let's hold that hay
There is
bale.
still more to
So the reason I mentioned this hay bale here,
Stop the
is two
payload.
things. So one, it gives you sight lines, so if somebody's watching your back, so it gives
We got a widow
sight
now.
lines behind
See where
us,
I'm at?
and it
So if we hold this hay bale, you
makes
guys
my
have
shield a much
that
smaller
room
target,
in here to hide as well.
but also lets
Pale,
me
just watch
drop it and take
Yep.
less damage. And
Because
forces
Monkey's
them
jumping over the
to
building.
this-
Do you think Junkrat's good, or do you think Soldier would be better?
Monkey sound?
So
They're just using the monkey to distract me. They're just using monkey to distract me.
So I think here again, I'm making
You're back on us?
like a Reaper. Because I know it's super good against Monkey, but again, Hanzo's just hands down way better. Monkey's down. Kill DPS.
Yeah.
No,
So we got split up here.
no, it's low.
Immortal, honestly, instead of going off this way, that way, oops, I'm not sure what was going on there, but you end up going off this way. And this is just the thing that I think we all as a team need to get better at. But just thinking of, okay, where is the safest spot for us? So, I mean, if you think about it, going left here doesn't really provide us anything, right? Whereas going right, at least you know you can keep going back, right? So if they take this area here, which they do convincingly, you can keep falling back. Like you can go back behind this building here, then you can fall back behind the dumpster, then you can actually fall back into the studio area. Like, you can just keep going back and not dying. And probably also have everybody there with you to help protect you, or at least more people with you. Whereas going left here, it doesn't provide any value, and ends up just getting us split up. So then I kind of am like, okay, should I go this way to protect you? Should I go this way to fall back? And then I end up just getting caught in the middle here and just getting wrecked. So I think having planned fallback directions will help significantly. And I think just by default, we should always plan to go back towards our spawn when we're falling back, just because that's where your reinforcements are also going to come in.
But yeah, it's lost.
Alright, so we need to switch.
What should I go?
Yeah, I'd
Go.
Reaper.
Go Hanzo.
Reaper.
Hanzo.
Yeah, so we get rolled here, and again,
Reaper's good
Mortal's
pick.
calling out Hanzo. Fantastic call. We should have done that. Because even
Oh my
if
God,
you're
it's fucking
better
real.
at Reaper than you are at Hanzo, we
Okay.
need to get you guys good at Hanzo. Reaper, this was a really good play here by Flash, or not Flash, Misky. I was not anticipating a Reaper being right behind the door there, so that was really good. Caught me way off guard. Behind me, I'm gonna die here.
Maybe we should play dive.
Yeah, so
I
I
dive
think
here, I have grab in a
call
sec
to
though.
swap to dive here. Not a bad one. We'll give it one more fight. Because I think we're
Sniper, be ready.
Just stay on card, guys. Stay on one.
60
We could have
seconds
swapped to
remaining.
dive. It is
Grab.
risky, I think, on this thing.
I don't think Reaper's a good pick against this.
Yeah, so I think what we could have done differently here, and I think what would have been best on this last point defense would be Hanzo Junkrat. And I think to counter their monkey, after Pale ults here, or even, I don't know, I mean, I'm hesitant to throw a grab away, but after Pale ults, having him swap onto Diva just to contest any kind of high ground that the monkey is on, and because Diva is a pretty hard counter to Winston as it is. So I think that would have been a really valuable swap. I think as far as going dive earlier, definitely agree. I think if we had swapped to dive on the second point, that probably would have been great, but we just ended up getting kind of steamrolled there. So I don't know. It's difficult to say whether or not we should have swapped there, just because it was more of a steamroll than anything.
This comp.
And dive.
Like monkey alone is
I
not
was
worth a
trying them
Reaper.
quite a bit when I was on the paint.
What
Halo
counters
they
their
couldn't kill
Reaper,
me.
because Misky's the one who's doing work right now.
is a Pharah, but then there's Flash. And if Flash is hitting shots right now.
So
Hanzo
jump
can do
DPS
it.
here, I
Use
think
Hanzo.
would have been the way to go. Alright, and then swap
Alright,
it Pale onto
Ink,
the
get
Diva.
your ult real quick.
So
Dude, you can't.
that their goal with this comp is to have their Reaper come up here, or even up on the high ground up here, and we just got rolled because we had no high ground contest here. So this is why I wanted Pale to go Diva after he ulted, because he could come up here and contest their Winston, and he could also kind of, I mean, of course Reaper can hurt Diva pretty good, but between DM and your boop, you could have at least booped the Reaper off up here, at least forced him back. But because we had no high ground contest here, we just get kind of split and taken advantage of in these next couple fights here. We're just getting rolled. We're again, I mean, I think if we had a Hanzo too, I mean, we'd be up there on that high ground. Just a great counter to the Reaper up there, great counter to the monkey.
Monkey Discord. Monkey Discord.
Yeah, just get pushed
You wanna
back.
touch here?
You can move up.
Honestly, I
Move up.
think I gave too much ground there.
Reaper in the grabbed out.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Pale, I think that was a good use of your grav. I also saw a fat shatter opportunity, and I think, I don't know. Yeah, we should have communicated that better, at least who was going to use which one first. But either way, good grab. This fight could have saved.
We could just solo ultimate.
It worked.
Stagger let's stagger the Widow up here.
This is a really good stagger here. Carnage, fantastic job being so aggressive. Pushing that back.
Like Mad got off of Zenyatta.
No idea.
Yeah.
Alright, so Nick's above us. He's probably gonna try to drop in behind.
Yep. So here, this is why we got that high ground contest, just because he's gonna end up getting
60 seconds.
Monkey just pushed.
Drop, jump that shield up. Nice.
There are no deeps.
That's a good.
Monkey just what? Behind us.
So we should have been able to really.
I need help behind us.
That monkey behind call. Honestly, I think one thing that needs to happen a lot more is, let's say, let me get some stickers here because everybody likes stickers, right? So alright, so let's say we've got our Zen here, and we've got our Mercy here, and then we've got, that's not what I want. Here we go. Okay, so then we've got a monkey just on you two, let's say, right? So let's say that he's focusing, don't want that one. All right, so let's say that he's focusing Sifu, right? So your orb should be more than enough to keep him alive, especially if he can Guardian Angel back up here to us. And of course that leaves you alone, but then he can know that, alright, so the monkey just stopped hitting me, so now obviously he's going to come back on you. So he can Guardian Angel back to you, and he can keep you alive. So I think one thing you guys need to work on together is just working on keeping each other alive, because a monkey is probably not going to be able to kill either of you if both of you are focusing on keeping each other alive, especially because honestly a Zen against a monkey is pretty terrifying as the monkey, especially if the Zen's getting pocketed at all. So just keep that in mind. I think here that call to peel for you guys was something that we really shouldn't have followed up on, because we really crucially had to kill these people up here. And I think you guys just focusing on keeping each other alive there would have been more than enough to deal with the monkey.
Just holding something right now.
Got him.
Let's get some
Nice.
staggers here, guys.
They're respawning, it's dangerous.
Seconds remaining.
I've shattered here. We'll try to get a shatter blossom here. Shatter blossom. Just play with me, Inked.
They have a McCree now.
He got me off.
So I was not expecting the
Oh,
hog
no,
here.
no, no.
That was a great swap on Nick's part.
Oh, watch Reaper high ground
They
behind.
had the ults for it, and they
Up
knew
above, high ground
that
behind.
why I'm getting a pick, which is exactly what happened.
Contesting.
Me too.
That was great. Great
I'm
position
gonna die.
by Niski as well to
This is
show the
not
comes
over.
back.
Overtime.
Trust me, I'm gonna die in cart.
Value swaps there. That was really cool.
You didn't get the card I have
Right
on.
I got all around
That-
building this way.
That was so bad, dude. Oh man, they got that one.
Got a shot her off. Possibly not have died.
Why do we not swap the Reaper after the ult?
Yeah. I don't know that it's fair here to hit.
Because it was working at first,
Yeah, I don't think that it's fair to hit Inked here on that.
It works for the ult, yeah.
Just in general, we need a hot zone. More than anything, that's what's going to be hurting us. It's a good game.
The Zarya doesn't get any credit.